Atomic Habits. An easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. By James Clear. The surprising power of atomic habits. Pick any area of your life you think you have been performing below par and vow to make as tiny as 1% improvement in it every day from now on. Initially, the effect of any improvement will not be visible to you because it is very difficult to notice something so tiny. However, after a month or a year of pursuing the similar regimen to improve your craft, you will be surprised by the astonishing results unfolding in front of your eyes, thus, making you realize the true power of atomic habits. The challenge you may have to face is to stick to your routine in an attempt to improve by mere 1% daily, which you may easily end up underestimating or even giving up. But their effect would be enormous when you look back after a year. Moreover, taking tiny steps in pursuit of your goal is not too overwhelming or demanding. It is indeed a slow but steady and definite path to achieve improvement in any area of your life. How your habits shape your identity. Our belief system has a lot to do in shaping our identities, and if they remain rigid despite sincere efforts to incorporate good habits, our habits remain part of us. To change a habit, it is imperative to change your underlying beliefs associated with it. If you are a smoker and you want to quit, you have to first start thinking that you are no longer one as soon as you quit smoking. Thus, if your behavior is not congruent with your own self, it is not going to last for too long. If you want change to become a permanent reality of your character, you first need to make a decision regarding what kind of person you want to become, and second, keep proving yourself with every small win. How to build better habits in 4 simple steps. Habits are referred to as repeated patterns of behavior through the trial and error process. It begins with identifying and adopting patterns that are fruitful and eliminating unnecessary patterns in the process. Through repetition, trial and error process and rewards, brain begins to identify the correct behavior to follow. Every habit comprises a 4-step pattern that your brain repeats in similar order. Number 1, cue. Number 2, craving. Number 3, response. And number 4, reward. These 4 steps in the formation of habit are essential to develop a feedback loop based on your brain's neurological response. A cue helps trigger a craving, which in turn prompts a response, providing a reward as to satisfy the craving until this whole pattern becomes an ultimate automatic response. The first law, make it obvious. Habit cues awareness. Habits are triggered by the cues on which they are long built. Awareness of these cues as the foundation stuff of habits is essential to deal with habit formation. It requires you to understand what impulses give way to certain activity before you decide on encouraging or eliminating an activity. Once the habits are formed, you do not even need the cue, on which the habit is built, to repeat the action. It becomes automatic and you non-consciously carry the action without paying attention to the unnoticeable cues in respective conditions. This makes it important for you in the habit-changing context to be aware of what you do, your habits. You are required to analyze your behavior with a conscious effort to decide what you can let getting done and what you need to change. That is how you can ensure yourself to change your habit patterns to your own will. Having noticed the cues consciously, what you further need to do is to point them out and call yourself to do against them until your brain patterns change. The right way to start a new habit. The cues which trigger your respective habits vary to a great length. Every habit related to certain specific situation. This makes every habit to have a different cue. Yet, you can build your habit on the basis of some universal cues. These universal cues include the time and location. If you practice to relate certain behavior to some specific time and location consistency, you will form it your habit to non-consciously follow that behavior when you are at that specific time and location. For example, if you carry out some activity on regular basis in the evening, you will start to feel the urge of doing it when the time arrives. Likewise, if you consistently take a break at some specific location on your way back from office, you will find it hard to resist staying there for the specific time duration. Another cue that can help in building new habits is to follow your existing habit with another activity. This helps you by reminding what you need to do next when you are carrying out your existing habit. For example, there are people who are not habitual smokers, yet they cannot resist smoking at certain times like after waking up or after meals. Environment matters the most. The strongest cue in the habit formation is the context in when you perform certain activity. That makes environment to be even more powerful than the motivation. For example, some people drink in the social gatherings while others drink when they are alone. It is their context which triggers their respective behaviors. In this way, context holds your habits thoroughly. Even the time and location as cues are the part of the context itself. In order to ensure positive habits, you must have a critical analysis of your environment by checking the good habit and crossing the bad ones. Making slight and gradual changes in your context, you can ensure your daily life filled with behavior only. This can not only help you form the positive habits but also limit the space for negative ones. Golden law of self-controls. Self-control does not work well in the long run of life. It is because you cannot consciously resist things all the time. This results in you getting prone to do things you control yourself against whenever your attention is distracted. What can really ensure your success in this regard is the formation of your context. You must develop a context full of cues triggering the positive habits while eliminating any potentiality of the cues leading to the negative habits. Minimizing your exposure to the negative cues and replacing them with the positive ones is the secret to avoid any potential temptation. For example, if you make it an obvious cue to have a walk instead of smoking after every meal, you not only replace the old behavior but also give yourself exposure to the cue leading to new behavior. That is how you can fill in for the gaps of negative behaviors effectively by addressing them in a natural and reliable manner. The second law, make it attractive. How to make a habit irresistible. The second law of behavior denotes that the element of opportunity has a big role to play in habit formation. The greater the opportunity, the more driven we are. The giants of marketing and advertising firms have spent billions of dollars studying human behavior to design and develop more attractive products as to entice humans to consume or use them. If you look around you, you may notice that most of the products being advertised and sold are highly exaggerated and far from reality. The junk food you consume, the clothes you wear and lots of other consumer products you purchase have a lot to do with creating attraction using artificial means to make them irresistible as to stimulate craving in you. To understand how craving works, you should know what dopamine is and how it plays an important role in habit development. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter in the brain and it is responsible for creating desire in you for satisfying your hunger, your sexual instincts and other pleasure-driven behaviors. When dopamine is blocked, your ability to experience pleasure remains intact, but you no longer have desire for anything. Contrarily, when the dopamine levels are high in your brain, your cravings increase tenfold and you are more likely to involve in pleasure-driven behavior. Consequently, every time you repeat a particular behavior, it activates the pleasure centers of your brain and a habit becomes dopamine-driven, causing you to repeat it over and over. It is basically the anticipation of reward that entices you to take the action and not its fulfillment. The role of family and friends in shaping your habits. Humans thrive in groups because they are social animals. They pick the cues from their surroundings and develop their habits accordingly, as they naturally have a strong inclination to fit in or feelings of belongingness. The kinds of people you spend most of your time with are highly likely to transform you, because you will emulate their habits in your effort to belong to their group. The culture you are part of also plays an essential role in formation of your habits. As a matter of fact, there are 3 kinds of groups that you imitate the habits of. Number 1. The close. Number 2. The many. Number 3. The powerful. Each one of these groups gives you an opportunity to make your habits more attractive as per the second law of behavior. The first group denotes that the closer you are to a certain group of people, the more likely you are to emulate their habits. They may include your parents, coworkers, and your best friends. The second group entices us to join the herd. When we come across a new group we do know much about, our natural reaction is to study the kind of behavior the group exhibit collectively and make an effort to fit in, because we are instinctively driven to conform to habits and behaviors of the many to gain acceptance. We would rather side with wrong practices and assumptions of a group than impose our perceptions, even if they are right, just to satisfy our innate desire to belong to a group. Once we gain acceptance from others, we start yearning for power, prestige and social status as a way to stand out from the crowd. To achieve all these things, we look up to those people who are highly successful. We try to emulate influential people because they are more attractive than the average Joes. When humans are influential, they have more resources, and that means they are the fittest to survive. How to find and fix the causes of your bad habits. It is your emotions and feelings that prompt you to change the way you have been doing a certain thing. If a habit is driven with positive feedback loop, you are more likely to repeat it as it satisfies your craving. Your habits are formed when your emotions signal you that there is a distance between present and predictive states. When you are comfortably working in a given temperature, you are not likely to take any action to change the state of how you are feeling. However, if the temperature drops significantly, you will naturally feel cold, and your feelings will entice you to wear warmer clothes to feel comfortable again. The similar thing happens when you are hungry, which is a feeling prompting you to have food to satisfy your hunger. The best thing about habits is that you can learn to rewire your brain and enjoy certain habits that are hard. It is just about changing the way you perceive a habit. If you think waking up early in the morning for work for 5 days a week is a monumental task, you can draw the positive aspects associated with it. You can also change the way you label some of your hard habits. Instead of saying you don't have to, you can learn to say you get to. What will happen as you replace negative words with positive ones is you will turn your burdensome behaviors into opportunities regardless of your endeavors in a given area. The third law: make it easy. Walk ahead slowly. Habit formation is all about doing it. In order to ensure doing what needs to be done in this regard, it is important to keep the action as easy as it can be. It is because the habit formation requires the action to be repeated with consistency. Since consistency matters more than the amount in this context, you must make sure that you decide on the action which can be carried out easily. Moving slow and steady in the right direction is a condition for forming a habit. You have to put your plans into practice. Therefore, it is necessary that you make the plans keeping your context ahead. Furthermore, easier actions approve of an instant initiative as well as long-term consistency. It is this consistent repetition which leads your behavior into the habit form. Getting more through less. Humans are naturally driven by the law of least effort. What it suggests is that we preferably take the easier choices as compared to the harder ones. Moreover, the easier the actions are, the more productive we become. This proves very effective in the habit formation context. Your actions have a better impact on the new behavior when it is carried easily. This further makes it obvious for you to stick to the consistency. In order to ensure your energy to be consumed to its potential least, you are suggested to reduce the resisting elements to your best. Furthermore, you need to increase the resistance with regards to the negative habits so as to avoid them from affecting the positive behavior. It requires you to create such an environment in which you can carry out your actions easily and with the least effort. That is how you can get the most out of least and lead towards building habits more effectively. Stop procrastination using 2-minute rule. Taking an initiative is the hardest part of habit formation. Most of our resolutions fail to be implemented because we plan them in a complicated manner. These complex plans get prone to procrastination in this way. However, an action becomes effective in the behavior building context when you ensure it to be small and simple. The smaller the actions are, the longer their impact is. Therefore, it is about the choices you make which take you to respective conclusions. What the 2-minute rule refers to is that a new habit must not exceed beyond 2 minutes in its length. The rule suggests that you put the potential least amount of time and effort to start with. It is because the initiative and the first few days are crucial for setting patterns. Standardization is important before you move on to optimize on your actions. That is what it takes to break the procrastination factor and bring the habit into its existence. Making good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. We carry out most of our everyday activities in the habit form. It is due to this automation of our behaviors that saves a great amount of our energy. This makes the future behavior formation an ultimate solution to most of the resisting factors you may experience otherwise. All it requires you to make a choice of what needs to be made inevitable and what must be blocked. One of the effective ways to automate a positive behavior is technology, the appropriate use of which can help in forming the new behavior effectively. It helps you to be consistent with the respective behavior by reminding you of when it needs to be repeated. As for stopping the negative behavior, you must apply the inversion of the very law of making it easy. Thus, making it difficult using the contrary ways you can ensure for the negative habits to be impossible in your context. The fourth law, make it satisfying. The cardinal rule of behavior change. We perform different activities for some reasons. When we are rewarded with the sense of satisfaction at the accomplishment of such activities, we are further encouraged to repeat them. This makes it the fundamental rule of habit formation that immediate rewards on our actions impel us to carry out the very behavior repeatedly. Likewise, the immediate punishments hold you back from repeating the respective behavior. It is because the human brain prioritizes the immediate rewards over the delayed ones. Getting into the habit of feeling an immediate sense of satisfaction soon after accomplishing certain tasks helps in sticking to the habit formation. Unlike the other laws of habit formation which ensure the performance of the habit activity general, the law of immediate satisfaction encourages its repetition, particularly with reference to the future. Therefore, immediate reward makes it obvious for a certain behavior to be repeated again. On the contrary, negative habits can be resisted with the immediate punishment so that their repetition can be avoided. How to stick with good habits every day. Accomplishing what you strive for naturally results in the sense of satisfaction. Similarly, it requires you to acknowledge your progress to feel more encouraged to carry it on with the same consistency. Tracking your habits proves very effective in this regard. It helps you to the chain of repetition. Habit tracking further triggers you to repeat the active with more of focus and interest. Finding yourself to progress, you are motivated to move farther towards your goals. It ensures your satisfaction with the behavior and leads it to form patterns in the brain. Moreover, you must avoid letting your behavioral chain to break. One simple rule suggested for this purpose is, not to miss twice. This suggests that you need to be alarmed no sooner do you miss it once so that you do not let it repeat any further. Accountability partner and habit formation. While our behavior is encouraged to be repeated with the rewards it gets in return, the repetition of it can be likewise discouraged if it is responded immediately with the punishment. You have to consider yourself accountable for the results your behavior takes you towards. Only then you will be able to stop yourself from a negative habit by involving the sense of dissatisfaction. This is an effective way to abstain from building any negative behavioral patterns. Another effective way suggested to feeling the sense of dissatisfaction immediately after every negative action is to have a confidant and reliable accountability partner. The very idea of him or her watching you can hold you back from involving in the activity. That is how you can apply the reversion of the law of making it satisfying by making it unsatisfying. Advanced tactics. The truth about talent, when genes matter and when they don't. In any given occupation, you will find some master as well as average performers. The best performers have one thing in common, which is their innate ability to rise to the occasion and steal the show, while other rivals become mere spectators having no option but to applaud the master strokes of world-class performer. However, talent alone does not ensure optimal success if it is not properly crafted into a dominant skill through hard work and sheer determination to achieve success, regardless of how high the stakes are. People who are able to make it to the top identify their passion at an early age and surround all their interests honing their craft by specializing in a particular skill set to rise above the competition. The key to success in life is about identifying that one thing you love doing the most. Your passion should be so intense that you find yourself in a mental flow, which happens when you are completely involved doing the task at hand. All of us have that one passion that makes us temporarily forget that we belong to this world. The reason it is highly recommended to identify what you love doing is that it is easier to develop your habits around your area of interest and sustain the focus unhindered until you are able to transform it into your occupational identity. Contrarily, if you end up doing something you do not like doing, you are going to have a very hard time to convert it into a skill set, and you will just find yourself somehow floating to make it to the coastline safely. Your whole life will become a spiral staircase of struggles, leaving you with very little space to breathe. The Goldilocks Rule: How to Stay Motivated in Life and Work. The Goldilocks Rule denotes that you hit peak motivation when you take on manageable challenges according to your ability to sustain the difficulty level during the initial stages. You cannot just pick up a tennis racket and challenge a player of Roger Federer's caliber, as you will soon find your oozing motivation to learn to play tennis go down the gallows in no time. Instead, you need to play with someone who can match you with somewhat equal ability. As two of you play, you are likely to miss a certain hits here and there, and with consistent practice, you will improve your craft. To keep yourself fired up, regardless of the endeavor you undertake, you have to start small. Take baby steps and pick tasks that you can easily complete and slightly increase the tempo every other week. However, there is one more challenge you may come across as you try to sustain your motivation levels. You may easily get bored with the monotonous routine where your task may involve repeating certain rituals before taking off. The downside of creating good habits. One of the most underrated aspects of developing good habits is that as you start to feel that you have mastered your craft, you become susceptible to complacency, and that is when your performance takes a nosedive. As you repeat your habits several times on your way to achieve greatness in a particular endeavor, your actions become automatic and you are no longer required to remain conscious as you have to during the initial stages of habit creation. It draws you to face another reality, which is to combine automatic actions with deliberate practice to achieve mastery. As you close the distance between you and success, you eliminate non-essentials in the process and invest your attention to what works best for you. By this time, you have already internalized your craft and naturally move on to the next level, considering an all-around development. This leads you to unlock your potential further, and your entire focus shifts to enhancing your skill set at this juncture, and the cycle continues in an endless loop. You need to keep reviewing your performance from time to time to make sure that you are on the right track. What we learned. What was the core message that we got from this book? To change a habit, it is imperative to change your underlying beliefs associated with it. Every habit comprises a 4-step pattern that your brain repeats in similar order. Cue, craving, response, and reward. The strongest cue in the habit formation is the context in when you perform certain activity. You must develop a context full of cues triggering the positive habits while eliminating any potentiality of the cues leading to the negative habits. Your habits are formed when your emotions signal you that there is a distance between present and predictive states. Humans are naturally driven by the law of least effort. We preferably take the easier choices as compared to the harder ones. Standardization is important before you move on to optimize on your actions. It is due to this automation of our behaviors that saves a great amount of our energy. Tracking your habits proves very effective as it helps you to the chain of repetition. While our behavior is encouraged to be repeated with the rewards it gets in return, the repetition of it can be likewise discouraged if it is responded immediately with the punishment.